So, there I was, standing in the middle of my sister's ridiculously over-the-top baby shower, holding a beautifully wrapped gift. The whole room was a sea of pastel pink and baby blue, and my sister, Jessica, was sitting on a throne-like wicker chair, the absolute queen of the party. When it was my turn, I walked up and handed her the present with the biggest, sweetest smile I could manage. She gushed, "Oh, you shouldn't have," and everyone leaned in to watch. She tore off the wrapping paper, her smile frozen on her face, and then it just collapsed. Her eyes went wide, the color drained from her cheeks. My mom rushed over, looked at the gift, and then looked at me, her face turning a shade of purple I'd never seen before. She screeched, and I mean screeched, so loud the baby probably jumped inside the womb. "What is the meaning of this? How could you be so cruel?" The gift? It was a professionally taken, beautifully framed 8 by 10 photograph of a dirty, cheap, two-person tent pitched on a gravel patch at a rundown campground. My home for 3 months. I just kept smiling as the room went dead silent and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "What's wrong? I just thought you'd want a picture to remember where the baby's nursery came from." Yeah, let me tell you how we got here. It all started about a year ago. I was 19, living in my childhood home with my parents and Jessica. And let's be clear about the family dynamic. Jessica, who's 5 years older than me, was the golden child. Always. She got the new car for her 16th birthday. I got her old one with 150,000 miles on it. She went to a 4-year university out of state, all expenses paid. I was told to be more practical and save up for community college. You get the picture. She was working a decent job as a receptionist, but she still lived at home, rent-free, of course. Why wouldn't she? My parents, especially my mom, treated her like a visiting princess. I, on the other hand, was the live-in help who also paid rent. I worked 40 hours a week at a local diner, and every month, $500 of my hard-earned tip money went straight to my dad for household expenses. It was fine, whatever. I was saving up, I had a plan. Get my associate's degree, get a better job, get my own place. I was on track. Then came the big announcement. Jessica gathered us all in the living room one evening, holding hands with her boyfriend of 6 months, Kevin. Kevin was the character. His primary occupation was finding himself, which apparently involved a lot of video games and sleeping until noon. And then Jessica dropped the bomb. She was pregnant. My mom burst into tears of joy. My dad was beaming, slapping Kevin on the back. It was all champagne and celebration. I was happy for her, I guess. A baby is a nice thing, right? I had no idea that this baby, this tiny unborn person, was about to detonate a bomb right in the middle of my life. About a week later, my parents sat me down for a family meeting. That's always a bad sign. My dad cleared his throat and started in with this super serious tone. "Son," he said, "we need to talk about the living situation." My mom jumped in, her voice all syrupy and fake sympathetic. "Honey, with the baby coming, Jessica is going to need a proper nursery. A place to nest. It's very important for an expecting mother." I nodded slowly, not seeing where this was going. "And," she continued, "your room is the biggest, aside from ours. It gets the best light." The penny dropped. It didn't just drop, it crashed through the floor. "Wait, what are you saying?" I asked, even though I knew. My dad took over. "We need your room for the nursery. So, you're going to have to find another place to live." I just stared at them. I mean, I couldn't process it. Move out. Just like that? I need time to find a place, to save up a deposit. My mom waved her hand dismissively, like I was complaining about a leaky faucet. "Oh, you're young. You're resourceful. You'll be fine. We can give you 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks to find an apartment, come up with first and last month's rent, a security deposit, and pack up 19 years of my life. All on a diner waiter's salary. It was impossible. 2 weeks. Are you serious? Can't I just sleep on the couch for a month or two? Just until I get on my feet?" That's when Jessica, who had been listening from the hallway, made her grand entrance. She waltzed in, one hand already protectively on her still flat stomach. "I can't have that," she said, her voice dripping with entitlement. "I need a calm, stable environment. I can't have you, homeless in the living room while I'm trying to prepare for my baby. The stress is bad for the pregnancy." My blood started to boil. "Homeless? I live here. I pay rent. My dad wouldn't even look at me. It's not up for discussion. Family makes sacrifices. And right now, Jessica and the baby are the priority. You have 2 weeks." That night, I felt something break inside me. It wasn't just anger, it was this cold, chilling realization that I didn't actually have a family. I had two people who let me live in their house and a sister who saw me as an inconvenience. The next 2 weeks were a blur of desperation. I scoured Craigslist and apartment listings. Everything was either a terrifying scam or way out of my price range. I had about $2,000 saved up, and it just wasn't enough for the deposits and fees. On the final day, I came home from my shift to find my entire life packed into black trash bags on the front porch. My bed, my clothes, my books, my stupid high school trophies. All of it, just sitting there on the concrete like garbage. Jessica's car was gone. My parents' car was gone. They hadn't even had the decency to be there. There was just a note taped to the door. We've gone out to dinner to celebrate the nursery plans. Please have your things gone by tonight. Love, Mom and Dad. Love. The word felt like a slap in the face. I stood there for a long time, just looking at those bags. And that cold knot of anger in my chest hardened into something that felt like steel. Fine. You want me gone? I'll be gone. I threw the bags into the back of my beat-up '98 Civic, drove to the nearest sporting goods store, and bought a $60 tent, a sleeping bag, and a cooler. I found a campground about 20 miles out of town that charged $10 a night. That was my new home. A 6x6-foot nylon dome. The first few weeks were pure hell. I'd wake up cold and damp, my back aching from sleeping on the hard ground. I'd shower in the disgusting campground bathroom that always smelled like mildew and despair. I kept working at the diner, pretending everything was normal. I'd put on my uniform in my car, trying to make sure I didn't smell like campfire smoke. My coworkers knew something was up, but I was too ashamed to say anything. I was living off instant ramen and cheap peanut butter sandwiches. Every single dollar I made went into a sock I kept hidden in my car. About a month into this new life, my car broke down. The transmission. The mechanic quoted me $900. It was almost half of what I'd managed to save. I was devastated. I sat in that greasy auto shop waiting room, and for the first time, I cried. I felt so utterly defeated. Swallowing every last shred of my pride, I called my dad. My voice was shaking. I explained what happened and asked if I could possibly borrow the money. His response, "Oh, that's tough, son. I wish we could help, but all our money is tied up right now. Jessica decided she wants the imported Swedish crib and a matching changing table. You know how it is. It's for the baby." I could hear my mom in the background yelling, "Tell him to be more responsible with his money." My dad cleared his throat. "You hear that? Listen, you're a man now. You gotta learn to stand on your own 2 feet." And he hung up. Standing on my own 2 feet. I was 19 years old, homeless, carless, and they were lecturing me about responsibility while buying designer furniture for an unborn baby. That night, sitting in my tent, listening to the crickets, that steel knot inside me started to glow red hot. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was fuel. The next day, I walked 2 miles to the nearest bus stop and started looking for a second job. I found one, an overnight shift stocking shelves at a grocery store. The pay was terrible, but it was cash under the table. So my new schedule became: work the diner from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., take the bus to the grocery store, work from midnight to 7 a.m., take the bus back to the campground, sleep for 5 hours, and do it all over again. On weekends, it got even crazier. I found a third gig, cleaning a small office building on Saturdays and Sundays. I became a machine, a zombie powered by cheap coffee and pure, unadulterated spite. I didn't see friends. I didn't do anything but work, eat, and sleep. And all the while, I'd torture myself by looking at Jessica's social media. There she was, posting pictures of her growing belly, the nursery coming together with its hand-painted mural of cartoon animals, the mountain of gifts from her first baby shower. My parents were in every other photo, grinning like idiots, their arms around their precious daughter. They'd even comment on my rare, generic Facebook posts. "Looking good, son. So proud of you for being so independent." The hypocrisy was so staggering it made me want to throw my phone into a river. They weren't proud, they were relieved. They had successfully swept their problem, me, under the rug. This went on for 3 agonizing months. I saved every single penny. I was a ghost, haunting the edges of society. But then, finally, I had enough. I found a tiny, rundown studio apartment in the worst part of town. The sink dripped, the paint was peeling, and the radiator clanked like a dying robot. But it was glorious. It had a lock on the door. It had a real bed. It had a toilet that I didn't have to share with 50 strangers. The day I was signing the lease, my mom called me. Her voice was obnoxiously cheerful. "Hi, sweetie. Guess what? The nursery is finally finished, and it looks absolutely magical. We're having a big family dinner on Sunday to celebrate. You have to come. Jessica really misses you." Jessica misses me. Right. The absurdity of it was almost funny. I was so exhausted, so beaten down. A small part of me almost wanted to go, just to feel normal for an evening. But then she delivered the final blow. "Oh, and sweetie," she chirped. "On your way over, could you stop by the Good Slice Bakery and pick up one of their strawberry cheesecakes? You know, the big one. We're a little short this month after paying for the rocking chair." And that was it. That was the snap. The sound of the very last thread of connection I had to these people breaking. They kick me out into the street. They refuse to help me when my car dies. They lecture me on financial responsibility. And now, after everything, they had the unmitigated gall to ask me, their homeless son, to buy them a $40 cheesecake to celebrate the very room that made me homeless. A calm washed over me. A strange, terrifying kind of clarity. "Sure, Mom," I said, my voice even. "I'll be there. And I'll bring something special." I spent the next 6 months not just surviving, but fighting. I used the money I'd saved to get my car fixed. I quit the diner and the cleaning gig and got a full-time job at the grocery store with a promotion to shift supervisor. The pay was better, the hours were stable. I started taking online classes at the community college. I started eating real food. I even bought a new pair of jeans. I was slowly, painfully stitching my life back together. Then, the invitation came. A thick, embossed card for Jessica's baby shower. "Come celebrate our little princess," it said. I looked at it for a long time. This was it. This was the moment. I RSVP'd yes. The week before the shower, I went back to that campground. It looked even sadder in the daylight. I took out my phone and took a picture of the exact spot where my tent used to be. The gravel patch, the rusty fire pit, the grim little bathroom building in the background. Then I took that photo to a professional print shop. I had them blow it up to an 8 by 10, touch it up to make it look almost artistic, in a tragic sort of way. And I had it put in a beautiful, expensive-looking silver frame. Walking into that baby shower was like walking onto a movie set. My aunts and cousins, who hadn't spoken to me in months, gave me awkward hugs. "Oh, look at you. You've cleaned up so well." My parents beamed, pulling me into a hug. "Our independent man," my dad said, clapping me on the shoulder. It felt like being hugged by strangers. I just smiled, played the part of the long-lost son, and waited. Finally, it was time for the gifts. Jessica was buried in a mountain of designer baby clothes, high-tech gadgets, and enough diapers to last a year. I waited until the very end. I walked up with my perfectly wrapped, flat, rectangular gift. "This is from me," I said. And that's when it happened. She opened it. The smile vanished. The color drained from her face. My mom rushed over, and her scream echoed through the perfectly decorated room. "What is the meaning of this? How could you be so cruel?" The whole party froze. All eyes were on us. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I spoke into the silence, my voice as cold and hard as the steel that had been forged inside me all those months ago. "It's a picture of my home. The one I lived in for 3 months so Jessica could have her nursery. I thought you'd want a picture to remember the kind of sacrifices this family makes for a baby." I turned my gaze from my sister's shocked face to my parents' furious one, and then out to the stunned faces of my extended family. "Just so everyone's clear," I said, my voice carrying to every corner of the room. My parents kicked me out of my home with 2 weeks' notice to make this room. When my car broke down and I was sleeping on the ground, they told me they couldn't help because all their money was tied up in a new crib. So when you all look at this beautiful nursery and this perfect baby, just remember what it was built on. Jessica burst into loud, theatrical sobs. Kevin stood up, trying to look menacing, sputtering something about me being a jealous loser. My mom just kept repeating, "You're so selfish. This day is about your sister. You're so selfish." I looked her dead in the eye. "Am I?" I asked quietly. "Or are you just horrified that everyone here finally knows the truth about what you did?" I didn't wait for an answer. I set my car keys down on the gift table. "Oh, and this is for the baby," I said. "It's a check for $500. My first and last contribution. Consider it a refund for the rent I paid while I was being replaced." And then I turned around and walked out. I didn't run. I walked, slowly and deliberately, out the front door and into the sunshine, leaving them all behind in the wreckage. My phone blew up, of course. For every angry text from my parents calling me a monster, I got two from cousins and aunts. "We're so sorry. We had no idea." Good for you. It turned out, once the truth was out there, people weren't so quick to buy into the perfect family image anymore. I went full no contact after that. Blocked their numbers, blocked them on social media. It was hard, but it was also like taking the first deep breath of clean air after being trapped in a smoke-filled room my whole life. The work ethic I'd built during those 3 months in hell became my superpower. I finished my degree. I got a great job in logistics. I met an amazing woman who thinks my past is a sign of my strength, not my shame. We have our own house now, a real one, with a spare bedroom that will never be turned into a nursery by force. I hear things through the family grapevine sometimes. Jessica and Kevin are struggling. He never did find himself. My parents are draining their retirement to support them and their little princess. They've tried to reach out a few times over the years, usually through relatives, with vague messages about letting bygones be bygones. But I know what that means. It means they need something. They haven't changed. And I have. The boy who slept in that tent is gone. The man he became knows his worth. And my worth is more than a spare room and a $40 cheesecake.